to the Mischief Maker broadcast, where chaos, creativity, and common sense collide. Your host, Joel Freeman, was kicked out of high school in Alberta, Canada. He left home at 17 and hitchhiked around North America as a long-haired hippie and dope-smoking fool. He made a 180-degree change, becoming one of the first chaplains in the history of the NBA. As a professional speaker, Joel has traveled to well over 55 countries. His many books have been published in 28 foreign translations. Pieces from his Black History collection have been seen by millions at the United Nations and many other venues. And now, the Chief Mischief Maker himself, Dr. Joel A. Freeman.
Hey. It's so good to see you. Are you ready for this? We have some time together. We're going to talk about dealing with people who drive you crazy. And that's those 7 words, by the way. The 7 words have taken me to over 55 countries around the world, transcending cultures, transcending age, transcending whatever, race, religion, in all kinds of different realms. And so that's why I have on my business card these 3 words: Chief Mischief Maker. In fact, if you want to participate in tonight's show, in fact, this is a highly participative show. If you're watching this live, then you have the opportunity, number one, to ask questions. And you just get your fingers ready and type them in. And Mel, the producer, he'll be right there with you. And we'll put it up on the screen. And if it's germane to what we're discussing, I'll talk about it right away. If it's something a little bit later, we'll put it on pause, hit the pause button, and come back to it. But that's kind of the way we're going to go tonight. And then what I want you to do is to go up on your screen. You'll see a QR code, and then there's something at chiefmischiefmaker.com. That's the website. 3 words: chiefmischiefmaker.com. And whether you're in India, whether you're in Canada, whether you're in Australia, Japan, UK, United States, wherever you are around the world, you can go there and then download this image, print it out if you can, and then I'm going to show you what to do with this. You're going to be circling all the words that describe you in how you function in a particular environment, whether it's work or home. And then we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about your personality, and we're going to talk about how to leverage your personality. We're going to talk about 3 areas of potential conflict. We're going to get into a lot of different things tonight. And we're not going to play music this evening. We're going to dive right in. And maybe what we can do right now is to put up the PowerPoint slides. This is not going to be death by PowerPoint. The whole purpose of these slides is to, number 1, to give you a visual, and number 2, to keep me on track. And that's very important, because I don't want to take a rabbit trail or say, hey, there's a squirrel, and talk about something else. I want this to be something in this time together, in this hour, to get right down to the brass tacks, as they say in some countries. Now, if we could go to the next slide, and we can see that this is just a big old welcome to all the Chief Mischief Makers. I want to give you tools and skills. What does mischief making mean for some of you who are watching for the first time? It just means, number 1, that you're living a curiosity-driven life. You're curious. You're peering around the corner. What's going to happen here? What can I learn from this situation? And then also, it's taking a look at things like personality and looking at it through a different lens, from a different angle, and helping to understand a little bit more about the way we're wired, what has contributed to the way we're wired, and how we have built in conflict. Go to the next slide, and you can see that we have this personality profile. And once again, go to Mischief Maker, chiefmischiefmaker.com, 3 words, chiefmischiefmaker.com, or click on the QR code if you're on a laptop and you have your cell phone. You know how to do that. I don't need to, well, I'll tell you. Put your camera on, and then up will pop a thing on your cell phone that'll tell you exactly what what you're supposed to do. The website to go to. Scroll all the way down, and then you'll see this right here. You'll see this particular piece. And let's go to the next slide. And on this next slide, I've got some just kind of an overview. We're going to try to pack as much information in here without it feeling rushed. What I want to do is to kind of take a leisurely, lollygagging tour of our personalities and the areas of potential conflict, 3 areas of potential conflict, and also communication. And then, of course, helping you understand your personality profile and your personality. And, I figure we're all tuned into the radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? This is what's in it for you for tonight. You're going to learn more about the way you're wired and some of the hot buttons. And the next slide will kind of give us a quick overview here of I worked with the Bullets, the Wizards, 20 seasons working in the NBA. Next slide. And I worked with folks like Shaquille O'Neal. And next slide was coming up here. I worked with these guys here, got a ring. Next slide. And we have a situation where you see Shaq's shoe. Now, if I had Shaq's shoe right here, Shaq's shoe is at Studio A. We're at Studio B right now. And I wish I had it here because it would dwarf the size of my head, my body. It's 22 in US standards. And I can't remember what that is in European EU standards, but it's a giant shoe, size 22. And then you have George Murison. You can see him he's standing in the doorway with my wife. My kids are really young there, and we're standing there, and he is standing above the door jamb. He has to bump his head everywhere he goes, 7'7". And in Romania, they call him Ghița, which is in Romanian means tiny, I understand. I don't know Romanian, so I'm just going by what I've heard. But the reason I bring the shoes here is because you think about life in these shoes. What's it like being an NBA player, whether it's Shaq or anybody else? What's some of the upside of being a player? You get great seats in restaurants. You make a lot of money. But the flip side, the dark side to that is that there's a lot of people looking for something from you. And sometimes you don't know how to trust people because people have these hidden agendas and not so hidden agendas. And so we're going to flip the channel here. And if you can go to the next slide for Anne Cleves, if the QR code says it's deactivated, it's because it's forwarding to it. Then maybe your setup isn't allowing it. Just punch in chiefmischiefmaker.com, those 3 words in your browser, and that'll bring it up. And then go to the very bottom of the page and look for this particular piece right here, and either print it out or whatever. And I'm going to show you what to do with it before our time is over. And so when it comes to, thank you, Anne. So when it comes to the shoes, we're going to flick the channel here, and we're going to talk about life in our shoes. And every one of us has the personal identity. It's the need to stand out in some way, and the need to just to have when we walk into a room or you're on your job working with your team, that there's certain factors, certain issues that come up that they say, oh, this person, you know what to do about this. We've been watching you. We understand that this is your area of giftedness and your ability, your talent to deal with the situation. And then also there's another need. It's organizational identity. It's not only need to stand out in some way, but also to have a sense of belonging. Now, there's some people that hate to be in the public eye, and they want to kind of stand back. And I'm thinking for the rest of your life, think of ways to leverage your personality, leverage your abilities so that you can speak up and stand out. And then the next thing is in terms of people who can stand out. There's some people who grab the spotlight and they just have no problem dealing with those situations. I would say for them that you need to either the rest of your life look for ways to meld with your team, giving other people the spotlight. And so it's different things, strokes for different folks, if you will. And I don't know what to say. If the owners needs to log in to reset it, oh my goodness, that's not good. That's not good at all. Chief mischiefmaker.com is not going forward to it. I'm so sorry, Ann. I'll tell you what, if you send me, my email is greatworkshops@gmail.com. That's greatworkshops, plural, greatworkshops@gmail.com. For anyone watching, send me an email, and then I will send this to you. I'm sorry you won't be able to participate in real time if you're live, but at least you'll be able to, and anyone who's watching this as a podcast, great workshops, plural, @gmail.com. Put my name in the subject line, and then just say, I want the personality profile, and I will send that to you as quickly as I can if you send that email to me. And I apologize. I've got to figure something out here, I guess, with my with this chiefmischiefmaker.com, and I will. So next slide, we can see that it's life in our shoes. And this is what's known as an event, not a process. Now, some of you work at places, you might have a process meeting every Tuesday morning at 9:30. And maybe if you're married, you have kids, maybe you have a process meeting, for lack of a better term, every Monday evening. You go out for a date night, you discuss things. How are we doing with the kids? How are we doing with each other? And it's so this is an event. We're going to talk about some aspects that you can plug into your process, whatever that is, at home or at work. And by the way, I believe that we are 24/7. That what happens at home impacts work. What happens at work impacts home. If you're retired, you're probably you're making your spouse go crazy, and he or she says, go get a 20-hour-a-week job or something like that. Anyway, next slide. And this is an event we're talking about here, and I hope you can plug this in your process. That 0.05% degree change. The whole idea here is I want to share information that can add just a little bit to your life. It's not a big, huge change. It's just insight. It's foresight. It's understanding a little bit more about yourself. Most people, when they come to seminars that I do, and I've been to Sri Lanka, I've been all across Africa, I've been all around Asia, all around the Caribbean, North America, and worked at Fortune 100 companies, education firms, organizations, worked with all kinds of different situations, multinational corporations, CEO level to the foundational level. And I find that when people come to seminars or they learn about this kind of stuff, that within 24 hours, 80% of it's gone. And within 7 days, it's like, oh, wasn't that the guy that talked about the big shoe? I can't quite remember. And so in a year from now, it's like, whoa, how much? So what I want to do today, whenever you're watching this, is to bait the hook with some really great information that you can utilize in your life. And I'm going to let you know when I do that. The 2-degree factor, let's say you're driving down the Autobahn of life and you want to do let's say a 90-degree turn. If you're doing that at 150 kilometers or 150 miles per hour, you're going to take out a few telephone poles. But if you add time and space to that, 2 minutes and maybe a mile or so, or half a mile or whatever, you can then make that 90-degree turn if you add the time and space to it. So basically, when it comes to behavior, when it comes to learning about our personality, learning about change in our lives, because change is never fun, think about an incremental change and to learn to be patient with yourself in change. A study was done by the Carnegie Foundation back in the early 1900s, and they wanted to know, what is success? How do you import it? How do you export it? What does it look like, feel like, smell like? And they worked with a whole group of engineers, and of course, just trying to figure out what is success with engineers. Now, if you're an engineer, you know one. There's some jokes I can tell, and I won't take a rabbit trail on that, but it's pretty hilarious, some of the stuff. They were working with these engineers. You know what they found out? They found out that 15% of success is based upon technical competence, but 85% of success is based upon our interpersonal skills. Now, when I travel around the world and I talk with people, I assume that the people who are in front of me are profoundly competent in what they do. If they're scientists, engineers, artists, whoever it is, educators, they're really good at what they do. But you know what? It's that melding together, it's working together as a group of people, as a team. And it's that those interpersonal skill issues. So 15% technical competence. I think our colleges and universities do a pretty good job of bringing that to the forefront in people's lives, technical competence. But one thing I think that we're failing in is helping people with the 85%. That's why I have dedicated my life to working with the 85%, because I find that it is so incredible. You can have a mission statement here and have people that are walking, crawling, running toward that mission statement. Some people are doing a fast approach. Some are a slow approach. Some ask a lot of questions, but they all have the same mission statement. And then there's built-in conflict. There's no cosmic conspiracy. We get on each other's nerves just by being ourselves. And so we have the whole idea of being chronologically mature and emotionally inept. I don't know about you. I'm 70 years of age. There are times when chronologically, 70 years of age, I've got a PhD, I've got a lot of education, a lot of experience, a lot of travels. Sometimes, I'll tell you a little secret, sometimes it's like I'm 11 or 12 years of age emotionally. And I think, wait a minute, Dr. Freeman, when I'm talking to myself, I'm not saying that, but I'm just kind of yelling at myself saying, come on, grow up. And maybe hopefully today we can talk about some emotional, some ideas and how we can leverage this information so that we can bring our emotional age closer to our chronological age in marriage, raising kids, dealing with the next door neighbor, at your faith group, at your job, whatever the environmental focus is, to work it in that way. Because I think most people come to their marriage with pretty good intentions, but people don't respond to intentions; they respond to behavior. That's why we're talking about behavior here. And any strength overused can become a weakness. You can be very blunt. I love blunt people. They tell you exactly what you're thinking. There's no equivocation. But you know what? There comes a law of diminishing returns where a person is blunt, 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 and they come to this point, and it's like, yeah, they're too blunt. It's like that strength came to a tipping point where it now became a weakness for that person. Or a person can be a quiet, gentle soul, and just kind of go along, get along. And I don't mean that in a negative way at all. It's just kind of a wonderful approach. But then there comes a point where all of a sudden they hit a tipping point where there's no boundaries. They don't know how to say no, and almost let people walk all over them, And so that strength, that wonderful strength, that it's so easy to be around this person. They're a good listener. By the way, your best friend, I can almost guarantee you, is a good listener. And probably a person that we're going to talk about tonight. But they come to that tipping point, and now that wonderful strength has become a vulnerability, a weakness in their lives. So we're going to overgeneralize, and we're going to look at the internal view. That's 75% of our focus. It's retaining curiosity. It's not getting jaded, and it's what we learn. Next slide. After we think we know it all, and that's what I think is so important here, is that wisdom explores beneath the surface. That whole iceberg thing, and so it's the Joel. Nice name. I love your name, Joel. I'll tell you a joke about that maybe sometime. But have you read the book 5 Love Languages, about creating the language of love that means something important for your partner, not what you think love is? I love that book. Giving gifts is a love language. The whole idea of spending time with someone is a love language, and especially in marriage. Thanks, Joel. Especially in marriage, that is very important to learn. But also, if you're a boss, if you are someone that's working on a team, it's really good to understand those love languages, but especially in marriage and raising kids. Thanks, Joel. Moving along, next slide is the whole idea of what we learn after we think we know it all, because problems can't be solved at the same level of awareness that it created them. That's Albert Einstein. At least it's accredited to him that he said that. Next slide. So what happens here is that I want to give you a gift. And it's kind of like if this pen right here was was gold, a golden pen. I just want you to understand that this pen by itself, if I were to hand it to you, here I am going digitally handing it to you, instinctively, when I'm with groups, people will use their thumb, their opposable thumb, and their index finger to receive that gift. Then I pause and I say, well, now, wait a minute. This is a very small gift, might be costly, but it only took this much of your body to receive the gift. What if I put, let's say, 1,000 of these in a box, gold pens. Now, and I'm ready to hand this to you. That person receiving the gift has to get up and prepare themselves to receive this gift of 1,000 pens in a box. My point is this, and there is a point. It's going to take all of you to receive this gift. It's not something that's just like, oh, this is like a psychological parlor trick, for this hour with the Mischief maker. It's going to be something that, is going to require all of you. Next slide. So as a leader, what drives you can end up driving other people crazy. And I believe all of us are leaders. You might think, oh, no, I'm not a leader. Yes, you are. Your attitude leads and guides. As a parent, you're leading and guiding your children if you have children, grandchildren if you're a grandparent. Next door neighbor, you're leading, you're guiding in so many different ways at your faith community. And so some people, they like task accomplishment in a punctual manner. That's what drives them, but then can end up driving other people crazy. Some people they want to be liked, approved of, and that drives them to high levels of accomplishment. Other people, it's maintaining a manageable, easygoing style and pace. Hey, 50 kilometers per hour is my favorite, or 50 miles per hour is my favorite speed. And if you try to get me to go 70, I can do it for a weekend or a week or 2 days. But after that, man, I got to go back to my pace. My pace is the best way for me. And you get the most productivity out of me if you understand what the speed limit is for me as an individual. Some people, they zip along, and that's their pace. And that's where conflict comes in, because someone who loves going at a faster pace, working with someone who loves going at a slower pace, whoa. You've got conflict brewing very, very quickly. And then some want to make sure, what drives them is to make sure everything is accurate. I'm going to ask the same question 8 different ways. I want to make sure that we're doing things right. Because why would we put a ladder against the wall and then climb to the top and then discover that it's the wrong wall? Why would we go down the pathway on a project and not do what it takes, the due diligence to make sure, where are the potholes in this project? What are the problems, the issues that we might encounter? And how can we approach this in a way where we understand what the problems are, and then we can not just do a workaround, we can actually walk straight into it because we've planned in advance for that very scenario. Next slide. And so what happens here is that, Woody Allen, he said, mellow reminds him of a banana. It turns color, gets spots and knots. Hey, Dennis, I like your sense of humor. And Woody Allen also said that 90% of life is just showing up, right? It might have been 91%, but it was a high percentage. So protect your brand. This is the art of leveraging the gentle art of leveraging. So your logo is your smile. Just sometimes just learn how to smile. Even if you're talking on the phone, your smile will come across in your conversation. And if you're just going, yeah, I think we ought to be doing this. But what if you're going, yeah, that sounds like like maybe that's a great idea. Yeah, or maybe we should be thinking of this way. And you're deliberately smiling. It telegraphs across the phone line to the other person, and it puts a whole nother spin on whatever you're discussing. Could be very serious, but the smile will let them know you're confident, that you have poise. And that's what leaders do, is they telegraph something that's internal that comes out in the smile. A lot of sales companies, what they do is people are on the phone, hello, Mr. Smith, hello, Mrs. Jones. I've got this refrigerator to sell, or these widgets to sell. And they put mirrors in front of them, because they say, if you get on the phone and you're talking to someone and you don't have a smile on your face, they're going to know it. They're going to see it. They're going to feel it, so to speak. And the trademark is how you leave other people after they've had an experience with you. And it's the whole idea. And there's a number of quotes out there. Maya Angelou talks about that. It's how people feel. It's not so much what you say or how you come across, or your resume obituary type stuff, that you're, I'm hot stuff, I'm this, I'm that. It's how they feel. There's a guy by the name of Bill Swanson. He was at the time the CEO of Raytheon, and he would he talked about situational value systems and all these different things, but he had what he called the waiter rule, like in a restaurant, a waiter, waitress. And so so what happened with him is that when he's doing a business deal with somebody, you take him out to dinner, and then he would watch how they dealt with the help. If they were demeaning, demanding, he didn't care how much money Raytheon was going to make from the deal. He said, I am not going to do business with someone that treats the help, the waiters, the waitresses, in a demeaning manner. And so it's the whole idea. That's your trademark. And then your word is your bond. I don't care if it hurts you. If you made a promise to somebody, I don't care if you wrote it down, because what you've written down is only as good as your character. Your word is only as good as who you are. Because if you have any kind of some kind of a contract, there are lawyers. They study contracts to see how you can get out of them. And so if you're that kind of person, I'm sorry. I'm sad for you. But it's the whole idea of your word is your character that comes across. And your business card, that's your personality. And that's what we're talking about tonight. We're going to go to the next slide. I want to tease you a little bit. Next slide and the next slide. Let's go to the next slide here. We're going to get into this personality profile in just a second here. And for those who can't get to chiefmischiefmaker.com, I'm going to fix this. Because I think it was Anne said that she can't get through to it, but go to greatworkshops@gmail.com. Just send an email, put my name, Joel Freeman, or just Chief Mischief Maker if you want. I'll know who it is, and just say, I want the profile. I'll send it to you. Okay. And then after the fact, you can then jump in and kind of do a retrofit on the information I'm sharing tonight. So now we're going to go to let's say, our sponsor is what's known as Rosetta Universe. And I've got some swag on here tonight. And so we have got a little break here. We're going to be hearing about something that is going to point toward our sponsor. So let's hit that, Mel.
Hola, I'm Pancho Villa with a terrible accent. I tried to finance a fight for Jack Johnson in 1914, but it didn't work out. No problemo. Order! Jack Johnson speaks. It's an order. Get it? It's an order.
20,000 showed for a fight that was promising. July 4th would go down as timeless. To talk about it, I'd be on it. But why listen to me when you can hear it straight from Jack Johnson, the 15th round right now in his own voice.
Welcome to the fight of the century. In this corner, we have...
Well, I hope you enjoyed that little ad. I did the voiceover for that for Pancho Villa. I can't do it again. Hello, I'm Pancho Villa with a terrible accent. It's just crazy. Anyway, that's the kind of stuff I do at 1:30 in the morning, and it feels cool at the time, feels funny at the time, but later on, who knows? You're the judge of that. But anyway, in this booklet, if you're in the United States, if you go to jackjohnsonspeaks.com, and I'm hoping that one works. But jackjohnsonspeaks.com, there is a recording in there of a song, a blues song. This is a QR code, and then you'll hear a song about Jack Johnson. Now, what happened is that I own in my Black History collection this disc from 1910, 150. It's over 100 years ago, and I have a QR code with a secret code that I'm covering up here. You have to get this booklet to find the secret code. And then what happens here is that also I have Jack Johnson's 10-point war strategy for how he prepared for the fight of the century and how he won it. And then in the back of the booklet is bonus material. I mean, this booklet should be probably 100 pages. So much bonus material in the back of this. Now, and then also Black History 365. I think it's on page 974. We talk about Jack Johnson in this. Dr. Walter Milton, myself, put together the Black History 365. It weighs 5.5 pounds, by the way. And then this is what I want you to really think about is Rosetta Universe. If you go to rosettauniverse.com, this is all about a plan to take the Rosetta Stone, this ancient artifact, and transform it into a modern metaphor for problem solving and critical thinking. It's a gigantic project. And if you are at all interested in this, check it out. Take a look at the media center and then get back to me. And we can discuss ways, some ideas, any connections, ideas, advice, wisdom that you might have for me. But I think you'll really be taken by that. Let's go back to the PowerPoint slide. Once again, this is not death by PowerPoint. It's just to keep me on schedule here. And so here we have, in the next half hour, we're going to unpack this in a very dynamic, hopefully dynamic way. But you have expressive people, dominant people, analytical people, and steady people. And you have people that are dominant, subdominant elements of those four areas. Now, in my PhD work, I did a lot of, I looked at just about every profile inventory out there, Taylor Johnson, MBTI, all the different ones that are out there, the BFI, the Big Five inventory that introduces the whole idea of neuroticism and everything else. And I settled on this particular product, this resource. And next slide, and it's called the DISC model. And we'll go to the next slide here. And it's, there's different aspects that contribute to our personality style. We have genetics, the force of nature, role models. You can think of your teachers that were strict or lenient. You hated them, loved them, whatever what might be. Parents, uncles, aunts, next door neighbors, faith community leaders, birth order. There's a whole studies done on if you're firstborn, only one child, single child. If you're in the middle, if you're the last child, all impacts the way we're wired. Physical characteristics. If you're too tall, very short, very big, very skinny, whatever it might be, a combination of some of those, then what happens is that impacts you. I'd be working with basketball players at 7 feet, 7'4". How's the weather up there? Hearing that from when they're 12 years of age, it impacts them. Going to a hotel and trying to find a bed that they can fit in impacts them in some ways. Painful experiences. That's, by the time we're about 28, 29 years of age, we're pretty much locked in terms of the way we're wired. But you know what? The greatest modifier of human behavior is pain, emotional pain. That can take a happy-go-lucky entrepreneurial spirit and turn that person to a cold, calculated cynic. And it's, some people get bitter and some get better. Pain is the greatest modifier. And And so one of these times, I'm going to be talking a whole session about pain and how we deal with pain, a whole Mischief Maker show about it. And next, and culture. Yes, culture, Dennis. Good point. That does impact, definitely. But I'm just looking, it's just if I had a flat stone and we're at a pond and I wanted to show you how I could make it skip 5 times, that's what I got here. Now that stone could probably go 7, 8, 10 times. There's many more factors, but these are some of the main contributing factors. But thanks a lot, Dennis. Good input. Next slide, please. Quick history. I'm not going to spend time on this. William Marston, he's one that came up with this. He's the guy that invented Wonder Woman, the lie detector test. So if you taking a lie detector test and you clench your sphincter muscles or your buttocks or whatever, and it sends off a false alarm, whatever, you can thank William Marston. He's the one that came up with all this. And he was kind of an interesting character all in his own. The thing I look about in instruments is I'm looking for not just 30 million people have taken this and they're all pretty happy about it. That is not impressive to me at all. I'm looking at validity and reliability. The reliability is the degree to which it produces the same results each time, and validity, it actually measures what it says it measures. Those are the things I look for as more of a scientist in this particular approach. And anyway, let's go to the next slide. Next slide, we'll go to the next one. So once again, if you can't get to chiefmischiefmaker.com or the QR code that you see in the center of your screen doesn't work for you, I apologize. I'm going to fix this. But go to greatworkshops@gmail.com, send me an email, and I will get this to you. And then you can kind of go over this later, this information. So anyway, next slide. Basically what you're doing with this, and I'll just tell you in advance as you do this, and try to do this as quickly as possible, maybe 90 seconds. This is the instrument I created for crowds. So if I have 5,000, 3,000, 300, 130 people, whatever it might be, I can't take them through the long form because it takes about 7 to 10 minutes, and you have to do it in advance. Otherwise, it eats up your whole time with the audience. And so this is my, it's about 85, 87% accurate. So basically what you're doing is you're going to go through this whole group of words, and you're going to identify the words that describe you the most. Not what you think other people might think about you, but what you think about yourself. Now choose an environmental focus. Just a newsflash here. We behave differently in different environments. There's nothing hypocritical about that. It's just different environments provide different stressors that pull different things out of us. So that's why when you go to let's say a holiday party with your job, and your boss shows up with his or her spouse, and it's like, who kidnapped my boss? That's not the same person I work with. It's because home life is different. Pulls out different stressors, and work life pulls out different stressors. So we adjust accordingly. That's why it's important as you're taking this, think about one particular environmental focus. You see words like influential, words like trusting, critical, conscientious, supportive, conforming, cautious, conventional, restrained, accurate, predictable, good listener. And you're basically looking at, does this describe me in this environment and how I behave? And not how I think they think I behave, but how do I behave? And it's a forced instrument. It's an inventory. It's forcing you to make a choice in 90 seconds. So it makes you more intuitive and less analytical in the process. So then what you're going to do after you've circled all these words or identified these words, next slide, we're going to then, what you're going to do is you're going to notice that there's 2 points here, and you're going to go draw a line down the middle, and then you're going to be looking for the words emotional and unsure, go in between those 2 words, and then go all the way across. So that what happens here is you have these 4 these quadrants, 4 sections. And then what you're going to do is you're going to place in the upper, now you want to write this down if you don't have one of these in front of you. Write this information down so that you know what you're doing when it comes down to working with this. In this upper right-hand corner, you're going to put the letter D. In the upper right-hand corner, put the letter I, like influencer. In the lower right-hand corner, put the letter S for steady or steadiness. And then in the C here, more analytical, the C is, you're going to put that letter there. So it's D, I, S, and C. That's S and C. So hopefully you can see that as you're looking at the screen right now. Now, next slide. And so, by the way, you're seeing here, if you go back, Mel, just the previous slide, what you're seeing here is that we counted 7 in the I quadrant, 6 in the D quadrant, 3 in the S quadrant, and 1 in the C quadrant. So now what I've determined here is that there is a higher level, even though it's 7, only 1 point over. There's the I is dominant and the D is subdominant. So now that gives us an idea on how to understand this particular profile. Next slide. So high level of D, we're seeing words like egocentric, domineering, direct. Low level of D, if you can get that real close, I can send that to you also, but it's the low level of D, unsure, dependent, modest. A high level of I, we have words like gregarious, let's see, emotional, kind of entering a room mouth first, so to speak. A low level of I, and we have words like withdrawn, self-conscious, aloof. We flip to the next slide, and we can see the high level of S. We have passive, patient, loyal, so on. Low level of S, and we have someone who is moving at a faster pace, more expressive, more frenetic in activity. The high level of C, perfectionist, and someone who really checks things out very carefully. Low level of C, we have someone who is kind of sarcastic, bombastic, like, I don't care what you think about me, kind of thing. So there's positive, and there's a high and a low for each. And so any strength, once again, overused can become a vulnerability. Next slide, please, Mel. We got to kind of look at this real carefully. So now in this particular piece right here, we see that you have 3% are dominant people, and about 11% of people are influencing. We have 69% are steady people, and 17% are C, correctness people, more analytical. And this is very important, these numbers. 3%, 11%, 69%, 17%. Be sure to write this down, because this is kind of like a key. I'm giving you keys that can unlock insights in terms of dealing and working with people. And next slide, we're going to talk about 3 areas of potential conflicts. I call these speed bumps in the Autobahn of life. Now, the first speed bump is now you get in your automobile and you have a steering wheel. And so this is what I call the steering wheel. So the steering wheel goes either to the right or the left. And so if you're more task oriented, if you're CD dominant or dominant subdominant, then I can almost guarantee you, I'm not a betting man, but I would almost bet the farm on it, that you're more task oriented, and you're more interested in let's get the job done. I'm not here to make friends. I like you, okay, but I don't have a great need for anyone to come and say, hey, you're doing a good job, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. 80%, you have the whole idea of people orientation. And so if you're a high I, high S, or a combination of the two, your steering wheel is leaning more toward driving more toward people. And so the best way to illustrate it would be that, let's say you're in a meeting at work, and you've just gone through this learning about this information. You're trying to be in your best behavior, but you're a task-oriented person. You're leading the meeting, and so while you're in the meeting, you're just saying, you're waiting for everyone to get ready, and you got an agenda, and people-oriented people are in there. They're just talking about, hey, did you know my cat got run over by a car? You're just like, what? What are we talking about? A cat run over by a car? Yeah, we call her tripod now, and everyone starts laughing, and it's just, I had a dog, you still survived. It's just like, what are we doing, folks? We got an agenda here, and you can just feel the tension. The task-oriented person is like, whoa, this is way off the field of what we're here to discuss. And so this is where the tension comes in. The steering wheel, one toward the task, one toward people. The people-oriented folks are thinking like, whoa, somebody's, a diva right now. And you need to chill a little bit. Here's a chill pill. Take one because, just come on. They're more interested in morale. Are we celebrating people's birthdays and work anniversaries and all this kind of stuff? They're more interested in the feeling side of things, and we'll get the task done, but have a lot of fun doing it. So you can feel the tension. The second area of potential conflicts, as we go to the next slide, is not just the steering wheel. Mel, we need the next slide now. So here's Jack Gold. He says, doesn't it make a difference where you are in any given day? If I'm in a battlefield situation, I'm not going to think much differently than I was in a barbecue at a friend's house. We're just not consistent this way. Please reply. Yeah, I mean, once again, we're talking about stressors. If you are at a high level of stress on a battlefield, you're not going to be thinking about, celebrating people's birthdays. That's for doggone sure. And so, and once again, we can talk about life. Are you in a campfire situation? Are you in a bonfire situation or a wildfire situation? You're going to approach each situation in a different way. And so, true. That's a good input. Thanks a lot, Jack. You're right. And so the secondary potential conflict, we're going to talk about a speedometer. And a speedometer, or a gas pedal, if you will, because the gas pedal is producing what's on the speedometer, is that we're now talking about IDDI. If you're an IDDI dominant, then what happens is that you are going to be functioning more at 170, 150 kilometers or miles per hour. You're just going through life real fast. You're completing people's sentences, and you're more proactive, product-oriented, active doer. That's the natural blend there. Now, if you're an SCCS, it's more 50 miles per hour. Now, this, by the way, folks, this has nothing to do with intelligence. It has everything to do with pace. In fact, this is probably one of the areas of great conflict, because you can have people, let's say where I live in Studio A near Baltimore, Washington area, there's a place called I-95 between Baltimore and DC. And if you're driving down that, let's say you have SC individuals, and they're about 5 cars deep, 4 lanes across, and they're holding up the pathway for someone who is a fast-paced 150 kilometer per hour person. That person is going to be beeping the horn, say, "Get out of my way!" And it can be a passive-aggressive way of bringing control into an organization, into a relationship, which may or may not be negative. It just is what it is. And so that's when you get the SUV going out into the median strip or middle area and just zipping by everybody and blowing smoke, in their windshields and dust and everything. And so it's the whole idea of realizing, how am I functioning? If I'm a slower person, maybe I need to speed up my pace a little bit for a particular project needs to be done by next Thursday. If I'm a fast-paced person, I need to provide, it's suicide for me to go be way out in front of the rest of the team or my marriage or anything like that, the kids, my spouse. So I need to build on-ramps for people. to be able to join me and then get a sense of their pace and maybe slow down a bit and just see, what is working. And maybe for a special project for 2 or 3 days, say, hey, I'm going to go way out front and I'll come back. I'll be like the lookout, the scout, and I'm going to come back with some information, but I'm going to work at my own pace and bring that back to us. So that's a second area of potential conflict, big area of challenge. So 14%, take 11 and 3, 14% of people are fast-paced, generally speaking, in organizations and in countries. And then 69 plus 17, 86% are slower pace. Once again, nothing to do with intelligence. It has to do everything with pace. And now let's move to the next slide. What I'm doing is I'm unpacking some information. Generally takes 1 to 2 days to go through the subtleties, the nuances of it all. That's why I said in the beginning that we're doing an event, and hopefully you'll be able to extrapolate 1 or 2 great ideas that you can plug into your process, whatever that may be or mean to you. The kite is something that, in marriage, and they say that there's a book out there, I believe. I love the title. I've never read the book, but it's Opposites Attract, Then They Attack. And that's many times what happens, like a young couple going together and, oh, you're so funny and I love it. And then, 2 years later, it's like, would you stop with the stupid jokes? I'm getting tired of it all. What was cute, now is no longer cute, no longer funny, no longer admirable, if you will, in the relationship for whatever reason. It just is what it is. But some people are what we call kites. They fly high in the sky. They get great vision, huge goals, a great appetite for a lot of different things. And so what happens is sometimes is that I think every kite needs a string holder. If we can go to the next slide, please. The string holder is someone that if you are someone who loves to hug other people, you need to hug your string holder every day if they allow you. It could be your spouse, could be someone in your family who is just keeping you grounded if you're a high-flying kite. And because if you reach down with a pair of scissors or a knife and you cut that string, you need the tension because the wind, that's the problems. You're in business. You have a job because you solve problems. When you cease to solve problems, you're going to be out of a job. Companies cease to solve problems, depending how large they are. Smaller companies are out of a job by the weekend. Larger companies, kind of attrition enters in. You can see the downward clicks on the chart. And so the wind, that's your friend. That's what keeps you going. And you need that wind. But then the string and the string holder keep you grounded. And if you reach out and cut the string, guess what? You're going to crash and burn. And so there's conflict between the kite and the string holder. And embrace it. Love it. Enjoy it. Appreciate it. And like I said, if your string holder is a hugging person, generally they aren't, but go and hug them and just say, thank you. Good catch. I needed that because I was so busy looking out over here. I didn't see the little speed bumps. I didn't see the little problems here. And you helped to keep me grounded and keep that tension just right for me so I can fly high. Next slide, please. Now, so the third area of potential conflict is a point A, point B. It's where you have the D, the dominant direct person, is now dealing with someone on the other side who is the most passive, most aggressive, most passive. Now, if you can come up with a better word from passive, because steady people are not passive people in the sense of lazy. But I just can't find another term. And so it's just showing the opposites here. So dominant people come in like a bull in a china shop many times. And then the steady person is like, whoa, please go play in the traffic at 5:00 in the afternoon because you are not impressing me. The more you push, the more I'm going to hunker down like a mule. You can't make me mad. You can't move me. You can try to strike me with a stick or something like that to get me moving, but I am not going to be moved. because I'm not going to be pushed by your sense of urgency. And so that's where conflict can come in. And by the way, there's so many positive things about each one of these. I'm just outlining some of the darker sides of conflict that can emerge. And by the way, conflict is good. It is conflict, and I'm not saying all conflict is good, but it helps to bring excellence to an organization when there's positive conflict, when there's different divergent views that are accepted, that are not just accepted, but are encouraged. Please tell us what you're thinking. Now, the next slide, please. We get into the speed bump B for 3. Is this is the biggest area of conflict, by the way, that I've observed over the years. I've been doing this for at least 3.5, 4 decades or so. And the influencer, 11%, and the correctness person. Why? Because the influencer tends to be 10 miles wide or 10 kilometers wide, and maybe 3 inches deep, 3 feet deep, something like that. But they know a lot about a lot of things, but they're not an expert in one thing. But instead, the analytical person is 10 miles or 10 kilometers deep and maybe 3 inches wide. They don't have a lot of interests all over here, golf and sports and cricket and basketball and all these different other theater and all these other things. They're kind of really good at one thing, generally speaking. And so what happens is the conflict comes about that in a meeting, an influencer is just coming up with ideas. What about this? What about that? Or maybe saying, I've been thinking about something. They float it with the group. And then someone in the group who is a correctness analytical person says, well, tell me, have you thought about this? No, I haven't. Good point. Good question. Have you thought about that? Well, no, good point. I haven't thought about that. Well, how long have you been thinking about this? Because in about 23 seconds, I asked 2 questions that were elementary, Watson, and you didn't have a response. So now I'm going to give a 70% discount on anything you ever bring up again in a meeting. So what I've discovered over the years is that for an influencer to come to all the correctness analytical people in advance, if they have that luxury, not always, you don't always have that luxury, go to them and say, hey, I'm thinking about proposing an idea, but would you look for all the speed bumps, all the potholes, all the problems? And then you see someone who's a correctness going, whoa, oh, that's great. This is exciting. And next thing you know, you now have an ally, potential ally in the situation. Well, our plan, let's go to the next slide just to see what it is. I'm not sure. I can't remember what it is. Yeah, we deal with layers and relationships, all these different things, cultural, professional, religious, gender, generational, disability, and we come through the gateway of our personality and how we deal with all these different relationships. Anyway, what I want to say is that, just pause before reacting. Identify the triggers, if I could use that term. It's gotten kind of weird in the last few years, but identify the things. Ask yourself, why is this person driving me crazy? And they might remind you of an uncle or an aunt or some other person in your life that's caused you pain. Identify that, because they might be paying the price for pain from your past, and that's not fair. Set boundaries. Be clear and firm about what behaviors you will or won't accept in relationships. And then don't take it personally. Most of the time, their behavior says more about them than it does about you. Just try to detach yourself emotionally. And then, choose your battles. Not every person needs to be a battle or be someone a warrior. Use I statements, address an issue saying this is how, without blaming, saying you're doing this, saying this is how I feel, when this happens. And then limit your exposure if possible, reduce the time and energy you give to difficult people if you've identified them as difficult. And, just practice empathy, use humor. Don't lose your sense of humor in all of this. You're driving someone else crazy, and they're driving you crazy. And seek support. Find that extra person that'll help you. We're going to close now. Go to the chiefmischiefmaker.com. send that email, and we're going to go to a close. Thanks so much for taking time out of your crazy schedule. Ebity, that's all, folks.
You have just experienced another episode of the Mischief Maker broadcast. Hit the subscribe button. Connect at chiefmischiefmaker.com. Thanks for coming along for the ride. And hopefully, you are now a bit closer to becoming a mischief maker in your part of the world.